Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Tech Data Engineer. So in this video, we will learn Docker in simplified way. Okay. So in this video, we will see what is the Docker, why Docker comes into picture, what was the problem before Docker, and how to create Docker file, what are the Docker command. So this all things related to Docker we will see in this video. Okay. So before understanding the Docker, we will understand first what is the problem before Docker. Okay. So what was the problem before Docker? Okay. So the problem was, suppose I have built some applications XYZ, okay, and I have tested in my environment, and then so it is running fine, and then I ask some other persons to run these applications, and because of difference OS or this library is not available on the other person's system, okay, and dependencies are not available in that other person system, that application crashed. Okay, so now the person, first person is saying it's running in my application, second is saying it's not running in his application. So this case happen with suppose any developer tester also, like developer installs Python, suppose any version 3.10, and tester has like Python 3.9. So in that case, what will happen? App will crash. Okay, so, and same case happen with production server also. Suppose you are running your applications in production server and has the missing libraries. Okay. So if that has the missing library, obviously this application will crash. Okay. So to overcome such problem, so that everyone will say it is working in my system and it's not working on other system. To overcome this problem, Dockers comes into picture. Okay. So before that, everyone used to say like it's working in my system, it's not working in your system, and that is the reason because only the application we are sending, not sending the dependency associated with that applications. Okay. So to solve this, I can say Docker comes into picture. So what Docker does basically, it packages your entire applications with everything it needs. You can say with dependency. So earlier we are sending only the application. Now we are sending application plus its dependencies. Okay, application plus dependencies, and then we are sending. So if you are sending by a containerized thing, okay, that is called container. So if you are packaging applications plus dependency, that is called container. So if you are sending containerized application, it is running everywhere, either it is running on CI system, its production system, any other machines, different ways also. So it works basically. Okay, so this was the problem and that was the solutions. That's why Docker comes into picture. Okay. Now we will understand what is Docker and what are the benefit of that and key concept related to Docker. Okay. So now first we understand the problem. What was the problem? Then why Docker comes into picture. Now we'll understand what is Docker. Okay. So Docker is basically it is a platform that package your applications and all its dependencies into a container. So it works everywhere without any setup problem. Okay. So it does only one thing. It package your applications and dependency, and it runs everywhere. Okay. So let us understand an analogy, something like that. So container you can understand like a tiffin box, and we have app plus libraries like a, what is the food inside that tiffin box, and Docker is like a cook who packs everything neatly. Okay, so that Docker is like a cook who packs everything neatly. Okay, and run anywhere, like eat anywhere. You can say home, office, picnic. So same food, same experience anywhere. So that was the Docker analogy. Okay. So we understand what was the problem with Docker, what is Docker. Okay. Now we will see some key concepts related to Docker. So first is the image. So what is image? Image is like a, you can consider like a recipe. Okay, like it is a fixed template, read only template containing file item, file system, metadata, like what command to run, environment, variables, ports. that is built from the Docker file, that is called image. So container is a things where we are packaging all this. So running instance of an image, writable layer on the top of the image. Okay. So container is like a running application created from an image. Okay. What is Docker file? So Docker file is nothing but it's like instructions, like how we are writing, like what is the how, what are the step, what are the stage, how to build. So basically a instruction to build an image, that is called Docker file. Okay. What is registry? So it's service that store image. Okay. Registry is like a store and share image, like a Docker hub. Okay. That is called registry, where we are doing the registry of the services. Then we have the Docker image. So Docker image, what is Docker image? Basically that run and manage the containers. Okay. So we have Docker and we have client, that is called Docker CLI and daemon. So basically Docker to run on the host and manage the image and containers, and Docker CLI talks to the daemon. Okay. So these are the things we have, which we should understand, because we need to create. So if we are making some application containerized, we need to understand, we need to create the image, what is container, what is Docker file, how to build Docker file, we will see later in this video. Okay. But these are the concept we need to understand. Okay. Then again, in higher environment, if you talk about this pre and prod, we need to create namespace also, or CG group, or C groups also. Like that is basically a Linux kernel feature used for Y containers. Okay, so we need to provide the namespace also. Without that, it will means it will, if multiple things are there, it is not able to find the correct namespace, then it will fail also. So we need to define the correct namespace, based on that it will run. Okay. So these are the concepts related to that. And we need to understand one more thing here. So Docker is not like a full OS, like virtual machine. So it is basically a containers share host OS. Okay. So that's why they are very fast also. Okay. Now let us understand some basic Docker command. Okay. So what Docker pull ngx do, basically that download the all the images. We have Docker and basically run the container. Docker build is build the container. Docker PS is list the containers. Okay. Docker stop ID, if you are giving that, it is stopping the container. So there are multiple Docker command. You can Google it out based on your need. But it will start from the Docker. Docker pull, Docker run, Docker build, Docker PS, Docker stop ID. So these are the Docker command. So if you are running this, it will run on the local host. Okay. So these are the Docker command we have. Now let us understand how to create the simple Docker file. So what we have to do for creating the Docker file, basically we have to do like from Python 3.11 slim something like working. We have to give the working directory, we have to give the access, then we have to give the copying command, then run pip install flask, something like that. Whatever you wanted to install, and you can install, and that way we can create the Docker file. Okay, so these are the simple way to create Docker file. I'll explain more on details, but this is a simple way to create. I'll explain with if I'll build some applications, and based on that, I'll based on the requirement, I'll showcase how to create Docker file also in separate video. But for now, because this is the introduction part, so this is the simple way we can create the Docker file based on the command and installations, whatever the required, and based on the version we can create. Okay. Now, after creating the Docker file, what we have to do? We have to do the Docker build, and then we can write the my applications, and then Docker run my application. So it will run on that particular port. Okay. Then we have the multi containers with Docker Compose. So suppose we have multiple applications that is running, suppose. So for that we can so suppose here we have the two services running. It's one is web service, one is the DB service. So we can create multi-container Docker Compose also. So for that we can write like a Docker Compose up, and then it will run. So we can define multiple containers in the productions. Okay. So for that the command is Docker Compose up. Okay. Now coming to their application, so we have multiple companies who are working on that. We have Swiggy, we have Netflix. Netflix have the microservices. This all are running on the Docker only. Okay. Now let us understand one more thing. So if it is about so basically Docker runs containers on a single host. Okay. So for multiple hosts we need orchestrator. So how we have the Kubernetes. Okay, we have the Kubernetes, we have the Docker Swarm. Okay, so if you wanted to run multiple containers, if you wanted to run for multiple, we need if multiple host is needed, then we need orchestration. So we have Kubernetes, that is industry shared for production scales. We have pod services and deployment. That is more powerful. And other we have the Docker Swarm also, that is built in Docker. Simpler, but we have that has the less feature than Kubernetes. So mostly we are using, but for productions, team usually runs containers or Kubernetes or managed Kubernetes services. We have GKE, we have EKS, AKS, we have three services in a different cloud environment. Okay, so that we are using for orchestrations type. Okay, so now if you wanted to summarize this thing, so basically what we have to do if you are working on the Docker, we can write the applications plus Docker file. We can build image locally by using the docker build command. Then we have test locally by docker run or docker compose. If you have multiple multi-container, we can use docker compose and docker run for single containers. Then we can push image to registry like docker hub, ECR, GCR, wherever we are working. Then CI, continuous integration, what it will do, it will pipeline will pull image and run test, and then deploy it to orchestration platform like Kubernetes pulling image from registry. So these are the five steps we are doing. We are writing your applications, we are writing the Docker file, then we are building image locally, testing locally by Docker run, Docker build and Docker run. Then we are pushing image to registry on the Docker hub, and then CI pipeline pull image and run the test. Okay, and then they deploy to the orchestration platform like Kubernetes and all. So these are the five steps we are doing while building the applications and deploying and everything we're doing through the Docker. Okay. So these are the concepts we have understand related to Docker. Okay, so why I'm making video on Docker, because Docker is important. So if either you are from the DevOps background or data engineering background, Docker is multi must learn skills, right? If you are writing any applications, definitely you need to deploy it. Okay, so for deploying, you need to create the Docker image. You need to build. You need to deploy on the Kubernetes, and also for that you require the concepts of Docker. Next video, I'll explain what is Kubernetes, what is Jenkins, what is Jenkins pipelines, what is CI/CD and all. So I explain concept related to that. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for watching.